Hello, gang. Welcome to this episode of The Ministry Show. I am so thrilled that Sean Buchanan from Aware 3 is still with us. And Sean, man, your insights on mobile that we heard last week were fantastic. I can't wait to get into it now again this week. Thanks for being here, and let's get rolling. Now, I know you work with tons and tons of churches, and so you've got to have a story or two that is like the best of stories about somebody that maybe couldn't have connected that did, or give us a couple of stories that are like, oh, now I see how this could help me.
A lot of the stories that we see come to us from our church partners that take this technology and then they're just so creative. Like, I love what God is doing in all the expressions of the church that we see because everyone's a little different. And so we've got a church partner, for example, that we love to brag about. We released a feature that's called geofencing. So geofencing is the ability to send somebody a message, a push notification when they have your app, but to do so based upon their real-time location. So a lot of churches will use that, for example, when the congregation shows up on Sunday morning. Because maybe you've got 300 people that come to your church, but your reach is probably a lot larger than that, right? Like you probably have 500, 600, 700 people that you know about or influence, but only 300 are showing up that Sunday. So geofencing is the ability to put a pin on Google Maps and say, hey, when they show up here, send this message.
Wait a minute. Time out right there. That means that I can, if somebody has the app, I can do attendance on Sunday morning.
Absolutely. Yep, we've got a check-in feature and can record real-time who's actually there. But knowing that information and then using that, being creative with that, this is just so fun. So this church in Kansas City, they partner with an organization to do a back-to-school drive every year. So they've got some kids that are underserved and need help with their school supplies. Well, instead of printing the shopping list and leaving that in the lobby on the info table or emailing it and then it ends up in somebody's spam or they forget about it, they used our geofencing solution with our app. And so what they did is they put a pin on all of the area Target and Walmart and local shopping centers so that instead of an email on Wednesday that I forget about, I walk through the doors of Walmart on Saturday and my phone buzzes and it's my church and it goes, hey, since you're here, why not pick up some supplies for our back to school drive and swipe here to see the list. And so participation has really just exploded for them in that program because they listen to how their people operate and they make it accessible.
Which ultimately leads to deeper engagement.
Absolutely.
Which is one of your three.
Yep, that's the key point.
Wow. Right wow, that's beautiful.
So fun stories like that.
So tell me another story like that. One more.
Yeah.
Come on. I know you're dying to get it out.
Yeah, we have so many, it's hard to pick from them. So another newer feature that we just released is live polling. So live polling is the ability to ask your audience a survey-style question where they can respond anonymously, and then you can display the results up on a screen if you want to broadcast it, or I can just view it right on my own mobile device. We had a pastor that was doing a sermon series on evangelism, and so they wanted to ask the question, and instead of people sitting in the pew and maybe kind of leaning back and distracted with something else, they wanted to actually engage them in the middle of service. And so they said, hey, let's just find out right now, how many of you have ever invited somebody to church with you? And the options were, I never have, I did, but they said no, or I didn't, they came with me. Those were the three choices.
Okay. And
so you pull out your phone, and, it's anonymous, so maybe people are honest, and I'm like, nah, I've never done that. And you see the results on the screen, and then the pastor is responding to that in real time, and they're updating it every 1 second or so. It's like, wow, only 3 of you have ever invited somebody that actually came to church with you. Let's talk about what does sharing our faith look like. And so the pastor was able to respond, to engage the audience, to turn them from kind of sit back and relax consuming to lean forward and engage.
Oh, wow.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, that is really good. Now, I wouldn't be that sophisticated to do that, but let's say I'm just getting started in this idea of mobile. Some of the people listening now are like, well, how do I either find out more or what's my best next step?
Yeah.
If I want more information or...
Our website is aware3.com, and that's the number 3, so aware3.com, and you can click on that and learn more about us there and go to our Facebook page or Twitter. We're all the places. So you can find us there and just start a conversation. I think a lot of times it may seem intimidating to start that conversation because you assume you're going to be sold to or those kinds of things. But our approach is very relational. We're here to serve the church. We don't serve businesses or other industries. We only make apps for churches. If we can be a good fit today, great. And if not, for 6 months or a year, at least we're helping educate you and give you some information that you didn't have access to. So that's kind of our take and our position or how we work. And so we'd love to answer questions. Go to aware3.com. we'd be glad to connect with you there. We even have a little chat bubble in the bottom right that you can click on and just type in your question.
Now, this might be an unfair question because, who knows, maybe might be the answer, but can you pull back the curtain just a little bit? Mobile, where it's been, where it is today, and where it might be headed, at least for a company like yours that's looking at the church world, serving pastors and church leaders and congregants and all that. What's going on here?
For the people that are kind of on that end of the bell curve, that are the early adopters and even the influencers, there's no lack of ideas, right? There's 1,000 things that we want to do. And so we always have that at our forefront. We've really funneled into those 3 categories of improving connection, streamlining communication, and increasing generosity. So we take feedback from our church partners to see, what are you experiencing and what are you using? As we look at how mobile is evolving to determine some of those plans, that's a real telltale feature. And one of our features that we just released is an example of this. So 2015, as I already mentioned, was the first year that mobile browsing surpassed other types of browsing. And what's interesting is that is across socioeconomic lines. So if you think about somebody that's a working class family, it's a lot of money to buy a MacBook Pro or a desktop computer or whatever brand you're using, right? But to access a mobile phone is a lot more accessible to people. The statistic that just came out in Pew Research, you can Google Pew Research and find their January 2017 article, 77% of all Americans now own a smart device. And so it has not just become popular, it is skyrocketing how many people are accessing the web, accessing things mobily. And when they do so, 85% of the time all users spend online are in an app. So it's not enough to just have a mobily responsive version of your website. You need a dedicated app that actually gives them the quick access to the features that they're looking for that are native to that app, not just pointing to a website somewhere.
And I just want to reiterate again, you'll build it for me.
Yes. Yep.
I don't need to know how to build it. You'll build it for me and then make it easy so that we can maintain it.
Absolutely.
Make additions.
Make it yours, customize it, and make it your own.
Want to make sure I'm hearing you right.
I know it sounds complicated to do all of that, but we make it as easy as we can, and we're there with you the whole time to help you through it. But going back to your question about where's this all heading, so another trend that I think is really interesting that's just beginning to peek its head out and emerge is social media. We sometimes still think of that as the newest thing, but messaging services are actually surpassing usage now of social media sites. So WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, all the instant messaging services like that, Snapchat, are actually surpassing social media now. In fact, I think it was 60 billion messages were sent on instant messaging services last month. And so it is exploding. And in that, we released in January of this year a brand new feature called Chat. And so not just can you as a church send a one-way communication, a push notification, and do it either to a group or to a geofence or to the whole church, but now you can create lists or tags where people can opt into the group that they want to talk to. So the prayer team can have a group and say, hey, my dad's in room 103. Would anybody visit him tonight? And real time, back and forth, get those messages. Small groups can say, oh, my babysitter just canceled, and or I'm bringing the side dish tonight, and that kind of thing. And so the ability to do that, as we see that that's how society is working, we see that these messaging services have now even surpassed Facebook and social media. We've responded. We're in step with that because we're developing, we're quick to release, and we're doing it only for the church. That's an example of not only where I see mobile's heading, but how we're able to respond to that and empower the church with these tools.
Yeah, the response to it is probably even the more important question. You're using some terms that I'm not familiar with.
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe some of our audience might not be familiar with, like tags and this and that and the other thing. But is some of that explained on your website, or do I need to talk to somebody about that?
Yeah, probably easier to just talk to somebody. You can schedule a quick phone call, and some of it's out there.
Talk to my 12-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I'll be up to speed, right? Okay.
Tell any preteen. They will teach you all you need to know about technology. That is for sure. So ask any youth group kid at your church.
I'm making this too complicated, aren't I, Sean?
Yeah. So actually, maybe that's a valid question, because I think there's probably people in the church that are going to be on your staff or on your team that are tech savvy. And you as the lead pastor now, I'm talking to that group of people for a second, if you feel a little intimidated, a little behind the curve on this, you don't have to know it all. You don't have to figure out, how did they build that thing? Like, I don't know how my iPhone really actually works. Like, it goes to space somehow and sends a message. But I can still use it. I can still take advantage of it. And so I think that as long as you set the philosophy of the vision for the church of here's who we're trying to reach, and then allow the talented people to raise up and use the tools that are most relevant. Your job is to empower people and create environments. This is another environment. We're going to empower people to create it and manage it. We don't have to figure it all out and know exactly how all the little widgets work, how all the bells work, but trust the fact that there are people that do know that and can come alongside you and help.
Boy, that comment even right there would make it worth doing in and of itself, to get some people that are in my congregation to engage in something that they know and understand that would help the church.
Absolutely.
Man, how beautiful is that? I know that you and Aware 3 have been super generous as sponsors to us.
Thank you.
And man, we just can't thank you enough for being a sponsor. We talked a little bit about something that you're doing for people that are listening to this broadcast that want to connect with Aware 3, find out some more information, but you're even lowering the bar even further by making it easy to do financially too.
Yeah.
You want to explain that?
Well, we don't want the cost to be prohibitive for any church. We want to make it as accessible as we can. And so our pricing is not complex. You can see it right on our website. It's very easy to understand. But to make it easier for this audience, and as you've explained, there may be some people that are a little uncertain, we're going to go ahead and make a special offer to the Ministry Show audience. If you fill out a form on our website, request a demo, and let us know that you're part of the Ministry Show, we're going to give you 2 months free when you pay up front for a year. We're going to give you an extra 2 months off the price of our app, and just include that as our gift to help people get started.
Okay, great. Thank you for doing that. Aware 3, just a couple of quick points. Man, they're from Kansas City. So if we can come visit you at your office, you'll take us out for a steak dinner, right?
The Kansas City barbecue apparently is competitive with other areas of the country that might fight for that one.
It makes me salivate even just sitting here. They build the app for you. They've worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of churches. They are dialed in to help you connect people in your church to not only your programs, but to one another.
Yeah.
Communicate in a culturally relevant way, quickly and efficiently.
Yep.
I mean, talk about helping me out as a pastor. That is a beautiful thing. Any last comments, suggestions, or maybe something that's in your mind that I didn't think of to ask you?
Well, we really appreciate what you're doing with the Ministry Show and the ability to combine a practical how-to like this. This is just a tool. But gaining that knowledge, gaining that insight on those little tweaks that we can make. And like you said, you don't have to jump in with both feet. You can stick your toe in the water with technology. You can try just a little aspect of it based upon what your culture is. Because what's going to work in a little church in, Sioux City, Iowa is going to be very different than a downtown LA church or even Denver or somewhere else. And so what we build is custom to each congregation, and we can begin small and grow it. And so take the knowledge that you're learning from Chris Mavity, from the Ministry Show, as you hear these tidbits, think through how are we going to go out and implement that and take one step. If you can just boil it down to one thing that you want to walk away with today, that would be my encouragement. And maybe that's one ministry, maybe that's an upcoming event, but as we think through how can we use technology to facilitate that outcome and make it just a little bit more accessible and a little easier for people, you can use that results, because success breeds success. And so we can see how God moves through that and try it out that way.
Well, Sean, I want to thank you for being here, and that couldn't have been more well said. But consenting to this interview,
Thank you. Yeah.
I know you didn't know what was going to come, and somehow you trusted me to sit at that. There is something here that's big, and I want to encourage you as pastors and church leaders. Often we think about the expense side of ministry because we're budget driven, and the budget's preset, and so all we look at is the expense side. I really believe that for you and your church, this Aware 3 company can help you on the other side of that, not only with income through that generosity piece, but think how much more engaged people are going to be if they're communicated with effectively and efficiently. And they can connect with you or others, and that's what church is all about. I love, Sean, that you taught me that this is just a tool. Mm-hmm. But the factors of communication, generosity, and connectivity, that's the age-old, that's how you build a church. Yeah. So this tool just makes it easier to build your church.
If we think about the kingdom balance sheet here, what's the value of connecting one more family that might not have otherwise connected because it wasn't easy? And so we feel like what we're doing is creating something, a platform that can help you do the work that God's called you to. And so we're excited to partner with the churches that choose to partner with us, but I think that we're making a real difference here in what we're doing by allowing people to connect to your congregation in the way that they naturally want to.
Yeah, and by the way, we've talked about you sponsoring the ministry show, but we didn't talk at all about that you're a church community builder partner.
Yes.
I mean, you're, what's the word?
Integration.
Integrated.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep.
Totally integrated. So if you're a church community builder church already, even so much the more, you need to hop on that aware3.com website.
Mm-hmm.
Sean is available. I don't think I know your cell phone number right off the top of my head, but he will definitely, he or somebody from his team will get back from you post haste.
Yep.
Man, I can see that the calling of God on your life is big.
Thank you.
And it seems like you're placed in just exactly the right place. I couldn't be more happy for you personally, but then also the Aware 3 company and the churches that you're serving.
Yeah.
Once again, Sean, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate your friendship and your service to others. So God bless you.
Thank you.
Wow, that's some powerful stuff about mobile and Aware 3. And next week, Pam and I are going to debrief this conversation, a little bit more practical application of mobile to you. And if you like what Sean had to say and you want to learn more, he's going to be at the Build Gathering talking more about mobile. And so you can go to buildgathering.com, find out all the information, and we hope to see you at the Build Gathering as well.